My apologies. I thought that there were 17 maps left, but there are in fact 18 maps left. We will carry on anyhow, starting with the map as can be seen in the background footage, Airship. Before we begin, if you have not seen the first part of this guide, we established what makes a good spot. Many access points, not too many close enemy spawns, and low traffic escape routes, and what a balanced team composition is that can hold any of these spots. A commando and SWAT to clear trash enemies, a demolitionist and sharpshooter to deal high damage quickly, a field medic for support, and a berserk to hold up enemies. A quick note that there are objectives on Airship, but they are optional. The best spot here is in the atrium, towards the middle of the ship on the lower deck. There are two main access routes to this spot, with it even being the location for one of those optional objectives on a later wave, which you may as well complete whilst you're there, for more dosh, experience, and vault dosh. Enemies will converge on both entrances to the atrium, so have your team cover both ways accordingly, with a heavy hitter and a trash cleaner on each side, with your field medic in the middle and your berserk switching between both sides as needed. Note that pulling the lever to dispense water here can knock enemies back if they are hit by it, so use this to your advantage. The lever can still be pulled even if the objective is not active. If things go south, head in whichever direction has the least enemies to make your escape. This makes the atrium the best spot to hold down on Airship. Onto a map that Hans Volter provides his beautiful voice for, it's Monster Ball. The best spot here is the locked door, perpendicular to the fire trap. There are two main access routes to this spot, so it is not too hard to find. Enemies will converge on this spot from both of those directions, as well as dropping down from the platform above the fire trap. Have your team split up accordingly. The way passing through the fire trap has the longest sight lines, so have your commando and sharpshooter focused on that direction, with other perks covering the other way. The fire trap can be activated from both sides, dealing damage when an enemy steps on it and damaging them over time. Watch out though, as it can also damage players. If things go south, head in whichever direction has the least enemies to escape from the main horde. As a bonus spot, you can hold this area near the DJ booth, which also has enemies coming from two main directions, as well as dropping down from the platform above the main area you'll be holding. So split up your team to cover both main access points accordingly. There is also a trap here, the Bells Trap, which can knock enemies down onto the level below. If things go south here, once again, go in whichever direction has the fewest enemies, whilst keeping in mind that you can drop down to where the bells would knock down enemies. This makes the spot near the locked door the best spot to hold down on Monster Ball. Now it is time to go shopping, but only at Shopping Spree. The best spot here is in the basement B1 corridor with a door. It has two main access routes. Simply look for ways to the basement to find it. Enemies will mostly come from this corridor and down the ramp, with a few sometimes coming from the underground parking area. You can use the door to control enemy flow. If things go south, head in whichever direction has the fewest enemies to escape from the main horde. This makes this basement corridor the best spot to hold down on Shopping Spree. Onto a dam facility now. Let's hope it's not a dam facility though. It's Spillway. The best spot here is near this doorway. This spot has two main access points and is quite distinctive, so not too hard to get to. Enemies will tend to come from the door and the ramp leading up from below, with some sometimes coming from the left when facing the door. You can use the door to control enemy flow to this spot. If things go south, you can drop down on this side, most often, or even go off to the left, less often, to escape. This makes this door spot, with a drop down, the best spot to hold down on Spillway. We will now head to a fortress, a steam fortress. The best spot here is in front of the rocket access lift doors. There are two main access routes to this spot. Simply look up and ahead for the rocket to know if you're heading in the right direction. Enemies will come from two main access routes as well, coming up the stairs and spawn on this side, whilst coming up the stairs and sometimes dropping down from here on this side. They may also come up the stairs to the middle of this spot, so watch out for that too. If things go south, go in whichever direction has the lowest number of enemies, tends to be the middle set of stairs from this spot. This makes the rocket access spot the best spot to hold down on Steam Fortress. We're going to have to go to an asylum now, not Bedlam, but Ashwood Asylum. The best spot here is in this camera control room. There are 3 access routes to this spot, making it not too hard to find. Enemies will come from the 2 corridors on this room's level, and from the stairs in about equal numbers. There are 2 doors for the corridor access routes though, which can be welded. As a reminder, make sure to split your team up accordingly. Trash cleaners and heavy hitters on each corridor and the berserk watching the stairs, with the medic for support in the middle of this spot. If things go south, head in whichever direction has the lowest number of enemies. Could be any of the ways enemies can come to you. This makes the camera control room the best spot to hold down on Ashwood Asylum. Onto another mental asylum of sorts now. It's Sanitarium. The best spot here is the low-lying patio near the shore. There are 2 main access routes to this spot, with it not being too hard to find, especially when it becomes flooded later into the match. Enemies will converge on these 2 entry points to this spot from whichever way has the most players. In this case, the way leading from the bulk of the garden maze and the underground access point, with a few also coming from the other access route to this area, along with smaller ZEDs also coming up from the vent in the floor fairly often too. Later in the waves, when the storm has begun and you can see a monster out at sea with tentacles, the suction trap will become available, operated by activating either of the 2 levers at the entry point to the area. 4 seconds or so after pulling a lever, the face of the monster will appear on the other side of this wall, sucking in enemies and players alike, but causing more damage to enemies, often killing smaller ZEDs in particular. Use this trap to control enemy flow. If things go south, head in whichever direction has the fewest enemies, preferably towards the house and not the maze outside. This makes the low-lying patio the best spot to hold down on Sanitarium. We now have an old Horzine Black Ops complex. It's Desolation. The best spot here is in the cargo bay. There are 2 main access routes to this spot, being one of the entrances/exits to the facility. Enemies will spawn in multiple locations within this spot, as well as converging on the spot from exterior spawn points. But if you manage your team to hold the different areas of the spot well, you should have no trouble with enemy spawns. So split up your team accordingly to cover the different areas in this spot and for the exterior spawns. If things go south, head in whichever direction has the lowest number of enemies to escape. This makes the cargo bay the best spot to hold down on Desolation. We now have a demonic corrupted underground station. It's Hellmark Station. The best spot here is in the corridor near the Chloé Bizet outlet. There are 2 main access routes to this spot, accessed from the ground floor of the main hall or off from the underground area. So long as you stand here, enemies will only come at you from the main hall area, and sometimes through the restaurant. If things go south, escape by heading out the back corridor away from the shops. This makes the Chloé Bizet corridor the best spot to hold down on Hellmark Station. Onto a potential dystopian future now. It's Dystopia 2029. The best spot here is the left corridor on the first floor, second floor for those in the US, going into Le Duc de Marguerite Hotel. There are 2 access routes to this spot, up the nearest or furthest away staircase. Enemies will come at your team in about equal numbers from both ways, so split up your team accordingly to cover both the staircase nearest the main entrance and the staircase at the back. If things go south, head in whichever direction has the lowest number of enemies. You cannot jump over the railing down into the lobby area, unfortunately. This makes the left first floor corridor of the hotel the best spot to hold down on Dystopia 2029. We're now going to a glorious research station. It's Moonbase. Keep in mind that there is low gravity here, useful for getting away from enemies. The best spot here is in this connecting corridor between the research and green area rooms. There are 2 main access routes to this spot. Look for research or green area to find this corridor. Enemies will come at you from both of these access routes, so split up your team accordingly to cover both ways. Use the doors at each end of the corridor to control enemy flow. If things go south, head in whichever direction has the fewest enemies, making use of the low gravity to make your escape. This makes this connecting corridor the best spot to hold down on Moonbase. Now it's time to go to a rather cramped, hellish map. It's Netherhold. To get to the best spot here, you have to pull this lever behind the pillar in the first church to get to the second church with the hand pillars. So there is only 1 main access route to this spot. Enemies can come at you from 2 directions though, the way you gained access and the spawn behind with a burning wall of fire. At the very least, there are 2 ammo spawns here, on the altar and behind the wine store on the right hand side when facing the altar, which you will need as they will come thick and fast. So have your team watch the 2 directions accordingly. If things go south, you will have to fight your way out of this spot, I'm afraid, which is a bit tough, but there's really no better spot on this map. Go whichever way out of the 2-way split has the least enemies coming in. This makes the church with the hand pillars the best spot to hold down on Netherhold. We have now come upon a small industrial settlement, Carillon Hamlet. The spot here is just near this large door going into the Horsine Rail warehouse. This spot has 2 access routes and is quite distinctive on this map. The bulk of enemies will come from the door, but enemies can also drop down from a hole in the roof above you and from the area through this gap just here. So make sure to split up your team accordingly. If things go south, you can escape from whichever way has the least enemies, usually the drop down after going up the ramp at the back of the warehouse. This makes the large door spot the best spot to hold down on Carillon Hamlet. We're off out to the North Sea now. It's Rig. The best spot here is on this raised catwalk near one of the corners of the map. This spot has 2 main access routes, one leading out into the open air and the other from a research area inside. Enemies will come at you from both of these directions in about equal numbers, so split up your team to cover both ways accordingly. If things go south, escape by heading out whichever way has the least enemies. The way through the research area has 2 escape options, so it might be the better way to go. This makes this raised catwalk the best spot to hold down on Rig. Onto an eerie old place now, it's Barmwich Town. The best spot here is adjacent to the garden surrounded by iron fences. It has 2 access points and being in one of the corners of the map is not too hard to come by. Enemies will come at you from both directions, so split up your team to watch both ways accordingly. There is a weldable door here that you can use to control enemy flow though. If things go south, head out whichever way has the least enemies. Stay outside for more room to maneuver. This makes this spot adjacent to the garden the best spot to hold down on Barmwich Town. We're now off to where a train has left the tracks. It's Crash. The best spot here is this single alleyway leading up to a platform. There is 1 main access route to this spot. To get into this building you have to go past the direct route to this spot. Enemies will converge into the direct route here to get you, so have your berserk at the bottom of the stairs to hold them back. You can see them coming around from behind the platform, so you can pick them off from there Just watch out for ranged enemies, as they will be able to attack you from the other side of the platform. If things go south, you can jump off the platform to make your escape. This makes the platform at the end of the alleyway spot the best spot to hold down on crash. Off to a Horzine lab in the Pacific Ocean now, it's Subduction. The best spot here is in the auditorium on the stage. This spot has two main access routes. Look for Recreation above doors to find it. Enemies will come onto the stage from both sides, including dropping down in the lift shaft here, but can't climb up onto it from the middle of this room, so split up your team to cover each way appropriately. If things go south, head in whichever direction has the fewest enemies. This makes the stage in the auditorium the best spot to hold down on Subduction. Last map now, and where the original Hans Volta has been holding up, it's Castle Volta. The best spot here is in this basement, not too far from the spawn point with a trader pod and a crashed APC, and this spot has two access routes, not being too hard to find. Enemies will come from both doors, so split up your team to watch both ways accordingly. If things go south, head out whichever way has the fewest enemies. This makes the basement the best spot to hold down on Castle Volta. So now you know where to hold down on any of the standard maps, but can you beat the bosses after surviving the waves? Check out this playlist for bosses to learn effective strategies to win against them consistently. Until next time, goodbye for now.